is too much. Good morning. Good morning, our distinguished experts in the room. It's 8:20. We will begin and we'll wait for other delegates to join us. My name is Bridget Oyefeso Odusami. I'm the head brand and marketing at Stanbic IBTC. I am not the expert. So my job here is to welcome you. My job here is to thank you for making time this early. I know some of us are maybe gym buffs. Maybe you should have gone to the gym or had breakfast. But you made out time to engage with Stanbic IBTC at this breakfast session. Today, we will be exploring the theme aligned with the Economic Summit Group's overall theme of collaborative action for growth, competitiveness, and stability. But our focus this morning is on the energy and infrastructure in Nigeria. We are honored to have you all here, and we definitely know that adequate financing is crucial for any economy to actually thrive. But I will be inviting my colleague, who is the expert in this field, our head of oil and gas, Richard Igbenedion, to set the context for this morning. And afterwards, you'll be hearing again from me on how we will roll over the conversations. Thank you very much. And please ensure that you're very engaged. We're looking forward to an exciting morning with you all, our distinguished guests, our distinguished experts, and our distinguished advocates of a better Nigeria. Thank you very much. Can I get a round of applause? Thank you. Richard will come and set the context. I know it's early, so thank you for obliging me with that request. Thank you.
I will. Thank you. Morning, distinguished guest. My name is Richard Inegbedion, and thank you for taking time out to, join us this early morning to discuss a topical conversation around sustainable financing for energy and infrastructure. Um, Energy financing and sustainability has become a topical subject, both in the local scene and international space. And statistics shows, and based on projection, is that by 2050, renewables, for instance, will take over about 60% of our energy needs. Renewable is the replacement, so we're in a transition. To set the right context for this, the conversation this morning, I'll just like to read a prepared speech. So please, just listen as I go along. Thank you. The Nigerian government has the audacious ambition of growing the country's economy to 1 trillion by 2030, an economy that is currently estimated to be 304 billion. We're about 38% of that target. With the current quarterly real GDP growth performance, a trillion economy by 2030 is a real tall dream. Energy and infrastructure development play a vital role in achieving such an ambitious target. Hence, the challenges in the sector needs to be addressed urgently, which is the basis for the conversation this morning. Inadequate energy supply and infrastructure significantly constrain Nigerian economic potential, deterring investment and reducing productivity across all sectors. Reliable and sustainable energy is essential for industrial growth, technological advancement, and improving the quality of life for citizens. Addressing these gaps is also critical for achieving Nigerian sustainable development goals and enhancing national well-being. With financing being a major headwind, the state of infrastructure in Nigeria creates a win-win situation for both Nigerian economy and financial institutions. While playing a critical role in national development, financial institutions are expanding their portfolios and profitability. Sustainable financing support projects that promote long-term economic growth and stability. Nigeria can also meet its climate commitment by focusing on sustainable energy while reducing environmental impact. Large-scale energy and infrastructure projects are key drivers to job creation, both directly and indirectly, and improved energy access to lead to healthcare, which leads to better healthcare and education. Moreover, a strong framework for sustainable financing can attract foreign direct investment into Nigeria's energy and infrastructure sector. AFC State of African Infrastructure Report in 2024 revealed that both Egypt and South Africa now represent 25% of Africa's total renewable energy capacity, owing to their successes in securing private developers with public-private partnership programs and mobilizing local, regional, and international investment in wind and solar. Nigeria, as well as other African countries, can take cues from these countries and explore such strategic financing and power generation initiatives to boost its energy supply. Financial institutions are pivotal in mobilizing the large capital required for energy and infrastructure projects. They can develop innovative risk management strategies to make this long-term investment more attractive. Financial institutions can support environmentally friendly projects by promoting green bonds and other sustainable financing instruments. They also play a crucial role in structuring public-private partnerships and blend public sector oversight with private sector efficiency and capital. Additionally, they provide expert advisory services on such project viability, structuring, and sustainability. Effective solutions to energy and infrastructure require collaboration across various stakeholders. Aligning these financial sectors' capabilities and government policies and development goals is essential. Stakeholders can share innovation in financing mechanisms and global best practices, while collectively assessing risk and developing mitigation strategies tailored towards building a sustainable market. This breakfast session in itself is expected to produce a roadmap for sustainable financing of energy and infrastructure projects in Nigeria. It will identify necessary policy reforms and explore new financial products and services suited to the country's development needs. Task forces and working groups may be established to lead specific initiatives, and a framework will be set up to monitor the progress and impact of sustainable financing efforts. By convening this summit, we aim as a bank to foster collaboration between financial institutions and other stakeholders to really drive sustainable energy and infrastructural development in Nigeria. Ultimately, the plan is to unlock the nation's full economic potential. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Richard. And as Richard has said, we'll move on quickly, distinguished experts in the room, to the next item on the agenda. If you notice, you're sitting on tables 1 to 5. Table 1 is here, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we have our colleagues already seated at those tables. Table 1, Table 1, Richard Igbenedion, who just spoke, is our head of oil and gas, and he will be facilitating the conversations at that table. And they'll be focused on exploiting the prospects and opportunities in the Nigeria energy sector. So that's the conversation that will be happening at that table. Table 2, headed by our dear colleague, the only female amongst the men, Folake Ademiluyi. She's the sector head for power and infrastructure at Stanbic IBTC, and the discussions on table 2 will be focused on exploiting the prospects and opportunities in the Nigeria infrastructure space. So that's the conversation Folake will be facilitating at that table. Table 3 is headed by our Chief Executive for Stanbic IBTC Capital, Dele Shotubo. Please, have you introduced yourself? Okay, I know he's backing me, all right. And Dele will be facilitating the conversations at table 3, and the focus will be on financing energy and infrastructure development in Nigeria. And we move on swiftly to table 4, headed by Dolu Olugbenro. Dolu, he's seated there, and he's our Chief Investment Officer at Stanbic IBTC. And he will be driving the conversations around engendering foreign investments in the Nigeria energy and infrastructure space. Last but certainly not the least is table 5, Chigozie Onyeocha. Please wave. Okay, he's seated there, right at the back there. And he will be facilitating the conversations around leveraging bilateral partnership, a case of Africa-China business partnership. Chigozie obviously heads our Africa-China Bank division within Stanbic IBTC. So we have 40 minutes. So we will ask that you begin your conversations. The facilitators will begin the engagements. And in 40 minutes, we will come back to extract, the main points and the ideas and everything that has been generated per table. We would ask that you assign a scribe to your tables to aid the swift conversations. So the key points, I think we need to move closer as other people join us. I know that it seems like you're the only man on table 1. Please, can you move closer there, sir, so that the conversations are really close-knit, and then we can carry on. We'll see you back in 40 minutes. Right now, it is 8, and we'll have a timekeeper help us with the countdown on the screen. It is 8:31 at the moment, so we'll be back at 9:09. Maybe I'll add another minute to that, maybe 9:10, to then talk through what the outcomes were per table. Thank you very much, distinguished experts. Happy deliberations. Thank you.
I might be at the right table because I want ATC, sustainable energy, rather than I think. No, just want to get free. It's gone to the right. Yeah, but are you moving tables or you just want to bring I can borrow your phone.
Yeah.
Be on that. On my hand. For lucky, I didn't. So you see, I couldn't understand.
You did? Oh, okay.
So
You
this
have
is
it too or
let me
something.
just start.
Yeah, in that way. That's how I think numbers. Even sometimes I put it where I meant to say that.
Somebody even took the picture. I used to the picture and put it on the WhatsApp so that when she scrolls up.
Okay.
I hope my meeting finished and I'll join you
All
guys.
right. Thank you.
You moderate that section. Yes. Right. And let me. Yeah. And you know, the session was clear on what the realities was and what the challenges were. Right. The enabling environment in Nigeria at the moment doesn't provide for such investments to come to Nigeria. Right? And even if they come, properly managed and optimized. So one of our biggest challenges and issues is the enabling environment, right? And it's not just the absence of legislature or laws or regulations, but it's just the implementation, the willingness and ability to communicate that capacity to the public and to the international audience. Can I,
Okay, let me just add. I know as IBTC, you guys are not the leaders when it comes to it's not only about regulations, it's not only about the government itself. It's about leadership. When I say leadership in government is about Nigerian citizens, the public servants. They make everything seem very, very difficult because of the bureaucracy. Nothing moves.
I mean, I think
They're not, the capacity is not there and they're not effective. That's what's causing
I was just going to say, I think, you know, in the beginning when the sector was privatized, everybody was excited, investors wanted to come. But then when you see that you have plans, you have regulations, you have policies, you have strong regulations, and they're not adhered to. You sign contracts, there are CPs, the CPs are not completed. You
you have regulations that say this is the way investment is going to be protected, this is the way revenue is going to be recouped, and they're not adhered to. So at some point, you start now losing confidence in the fact that you are planning, you have an investment plan, and you're going to be able to stick to that plan because government and government agencies are not adhering to the policy that they themselves set, and they're not keeping with the regulation. For example, take tariff. You know that tariff is the venue through which you're going to recoup your investment, and you have a tariff model that is for almost the entire 5 years was not adhered to, and even to today, it's not being adhered to. They will do the review, they will say this is what it costs, and then they will not implement it, or they will implement it and then somebody will sue and everything gets reversed. So you are operating in a market that is volatile, that is insecure, and that has no um, guarantees that what is said will be done will be done. So at that point, the capital gets scared and it's like, well, I can't come here because I can't plan and I can't trust in the process to work.
That's all I do.
Yep.
I see what you did there. Clever. I like it.
I think, sorry, oh yeah, regardless of how perfect it is. Yeah. Or imperfect, yeah. Perfect or perfect it is, yeah.
other issue is that, specifically for the energy sector, I think the sector is confused. It doesn't know whether it's private, it doesn't know whether it's government run. And to attract private capital, you need to have a market that is market driven and is operates by market determined indices. But in Nigeria, it's a case of the players try to operate in a private market, but then the government is constantly pulling them back because government's concerns are different from the investors' concerns. And right now, I think their two concerns are not aligned. So they need to come up with a way where government, their focus is Nigerians should have power, and these investors' focus is we're investing and we need to not only recoup our investment, we need to make a profit. So there's finding a way to align these two motivations because right now they're not aligned, and government's focus is pulling back and hindering private focus.
Thank you very much. So, that's very, very because if you don't know, I mean, a very good example, you enter into a vehicle that is going to, you don't know who the driver should be, which driver, who is in charge. So, to kind of summarize or say, that is kind of addressing, we have, yes, because I was going to say, the name Black Time is silent committee, but I think it's a black book that we are supposed to see. Just not digress, no, you're right. Because the name of them is abstract. Run out of cards. Social science. Whereas non-investing is capital. As a business. So you see a situation where can't understand regulating, but have injected capital, borrowed from financing clients that is driven on time. That's what they should be able to start with. Somebody's telling you now. So if that misalignment comes on public interest when it comes to
And essentially, you're basically telling private capital to subsidize government policies.
So what I'm saying is that look, we're talking about is the sector transparent? Can anybody have a fancy person go, oh, I'm doing
Can you hear me? Okay. Just to state again, we've been tasked to discuss how to exploit the prospects and opportunities in the Nigerian infrastructure space. And the first question, which we don't have too much time, we're trying to answer is what is the outlook and prospect of the Nigerian infrastructure landscape in the face of other competing investment assets and destinations. I think we've gone through like destinations and investment assets, other investment assets. I'm not sure if there are other. Sorry. Oh, sorry. You can hear me. But largely,
Left, more or less is not change. Something that you cannot change, I cannot change. And when I do change it, you know it has been changed. We must take Nigeria to this level for us to make sense out of our country. I'm coming from solid mineral sector, which is the, I mean, if you put agriculture and solid mineral together, this is what Nigeria needs. Let me not say solid say distortion in general. This is what Nigeria is to develop frontally. But for that to happen, we must bring transparency to the highest level. Because that is going to make any funder release money. I came back from Michigan last 2 weeks. I sat with the court of they are moving very small ports. They are moving over 1 million metric tons of material, small port, every week. 1 million metric tons. I mean, I don't know what the Tinker is doing. I'm not sure they're doing it before. That big. So my take is let's reduce Nigeria to you know what I mean. And I see what you see. And I think we're Nigeria.
deserve capital based something that compensates the owner of capital. And that will also get us to know this, that as you rightly said, capital has no, is not an indigene of any right. It will only go to where it is number one, appreciated, right? Well integrated and protected. Right? So let's look, capital wants to be protected. It doesn't want to be mismanaged. Right? Something that came out to appreciate. When you see me, you appreciate me, you keep me well. Right? And you use me for the purpose of the job. So those things are very, very important. So with all this in our mind, so the question is how to get it. We feel well that we have this guy today. And let's not forget this. People, if there is a success,
Sit closer.
we have a success in this country. There are people that are sitting, and when I say people sitting, there are legit knowledge. But based on some of the things we've talked about, some of the challenges, they will rather look for opportunity outside than to put it in venture. So the question in lesson today is, having realized all these things, what do we need to do as a country that will give them that confidence to secure the so I'm going to use my phone. I'm going to do it in my rather than
Good morning, my name is Jonathan. So two things, lowering market barriers, addressing supply and demand side would go a long way. Second thing is how do we begin to de-risk these two sectors? Right? I think that's a conversation all of government, society. Let's sit down, let's identify as much as possible we're honest with each other. De-risk. That's what I want to
So
share.
thank you very much. You actually spoke about lowering barriers. That is, what are the orders? What are the yes, let me use the word orders that are there today. If a project, once you assess the market, what are the things that you want? Conditions are that we want. So it's important that we now knowing fully well that a good number of these projects, they will be, they are in greenfield. Third question, and the average investor today is largely looking for asset that is already generating return. So if you have that in the back of your mind, what can we do to actually encourage capital to flow into greenfield? We've talked about one cannot be lowering and so any other what has happened? I think fundamentally we need to understand this.
Let me shift to those videos. How business man now.
Instead of thinking negatively that it's things to go wrong, why not subject it to critical analysis? Going from understanding that is there's a lot of negativity in our mind that something will go wrong. Yes, it's good to have that mindset. But on the same end, if you look all over the world, people are still investing. As you mentioned, the power of capital. But deployment of those capital, mobilizing those capital from local marketing so that it will have a chain reactionary effect. Coming from mindset, there's a lot of products that are imported into this country from the stock market perspective. They are imported on the tertiary level. But this program has engaged elements. Yes, here, my mindset will be for the sake of every mention of those
I'm saying that is for Nigeria. For Nigeria, it's true. It's true. Fiscal. Side by side, it's a different
But something, right? So on prospects, right? The answer to my question is that Africa will be giving us the last time opportunity to ramp up. Arguable because we say want to focus on our we want to align with the board. We have about 25 years. And the last one of the time was next what I think that was bringing that's when the politics into this from I mean at the end of the day, I'm not about politics, right? Because we have exact then that's part of it. We also need to leverage on gas as a plan. But I think the West, I feel that give me some other but 209 the government is really trying to care about the change and the various and then well, so we get to the point the reversal from import dependence to local production and export. But doing that already instead of supporting petrol, now find own export, etc. Okay. Attraction of investment for stable and just negative. So like money from CFI, of course, it depends on framework. Good appetite for finance, but different aspects that are sectors. Energy, good appetite for us. Because when the risk that is embedded building or putting together a solar plant is different from the risk that if you are doing an IT. But the two of them is actually geared towards electricity.
And so they can easily take, if there's a small percentage, they have it globally, but government in Nigeria needs to now push it.
I think also we need, we don't plan long term enough. We need very long term plans, like 50-year plans. And again, speaking specifically for the energy sector, if you have a policy that is based on a 50-year plan, you have to have milestones and then you have to have an end target.
We have under 10 minutes.
You have to have an end
Facilitators,
target
please take note.
So even if the
Thank you,
government
distinguished
changes
guests,
the
distinguished experts. We're grateful
a little bit or
for the
changes that,
interaction
the
and the
end
conversation.
and this is what we see not in Nigeria, is you're trying to invest in 20-year projects, and even just 2 years into the development, policy direction has changed. So your whole investment plan no longer functions in this new policy. So we need long-term, stable plans, 50 years plan, not we're planning for the next 2 years, for the next 5 years. We need long-term, 50 years. So we cannot be shifting the goals. So once you set this landscape, you set your target, then investment can come and decide how they're going to meet that target for you. But constantly shifting directions, constantly shifting policy focus, how are you supposed to be signing long-term agreements and attracting capital when everything is constantly shifting? And then the second point is, I think to what the gentleman said, information asymmetry. What I know and what you know are two different things. And a lot of the time, it's when private sector is engaging with the public sector, it's like we are battling each other. We're not working together, we're not collaborating. Public sector is so proprietary about information, and I don't understand why. If, for instance, as an energy investor, I'm trying to get information from transmission company of Nigeria, it's like it's like
point
we're on the same
of,
team. They're so
I'm looking
proprietary.
at
And why is it? So data is critical planning. And if we're
trying
not
to talk at the
privy to the same information, then there is going to be, again, misalignment, mismatch, and investment will not come because I'm working on limited information and I need to see the whole picture. I cannot just be allowed to see just part of the picture.
Now, with the PIA, they are transferring that to the community. Yeah, it's going to be part of that 3% that is going to the community. Because they are well producing gas community. Yeah, that's the new, the PIA, yeah, exactly.
So if you're doing the right
Well, if yeah.
You know the song was like,
Flag, 60% of gas is but when these water facilities were short of service, gas was not part of it. So clear gas, local pollution, and we send down and usually part of penalty act. So that the gas flare penalty. It says that it's a 1939.
and if they comply, then there's so much.
The business line, I would rather pay penalty. As a business,
Because
it is 20 times, 30 times cheaper.
so, for example,
So we need long these so in another 10 years, this is what years ago, when banks were mandated to set 3%, 5% aside, and then, for small businesses, and obviously, like you said, that's what I'm saying. So I said it's not possible. It would raise costs for everyone. Yeah, it will raise costs. And that which will be passed on.
our cost per production is already high.
Take ownership of it. For me. So we need to see what for me.
That's well. So two things. Let's pick it up from whatever said. What you have said. There is an issue around, guarantees. I mean, adequate guarantees and Where the judge that is sitting
2 minutes more. Please be rounding up. Our dear facilitators, 2 minutes. Counting down to 0. Thank you. We expect you to be rounding up now. 1 minute, 31 seconds now. And it's time to wrap up in 20 seconds. Please start wrapping up your conversations. 10 seconds. And the time is up. Thank you, our valued experts, all the experts around the table. Please give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know the conversations have been intense. There was a student asking for extra time. One of the facilitators says, we're just on question 1. We need extra time. I mean, the conversations will obviously keep going on. We'll never really have enough time. But we thank you all for being very intentional about participating, our valued experts. Let me use this opportunity to thank the chairman of the Economic Summit Group for being with us this morning, Mr. Niyi Yusuf. Please give him a round of applause. We're grateful that you found time to pop into our breakfast meeting this morning. And we thank the facilitator for the Economic Summit Group Financial Market, Financial Inclusion Policy, Mr. Zil Akarewe. Mr. Zil, are you still here? I can't find him. Okay, he was here for a second. Oh, okay. Thank you very much for joining us. I mean, he was really the brain behind this session as well. Thank you very much for being here. At this time, I can still hear conversations going on. It has ended. Hello, dear experts. I'm going to start from table 5. Chigozie, are you ready? Chigozie, are you ready? I'm here. Just walk up front. Walk up to the front. Walk up to the front, please. I decided to disrupt things a bit. We'll go from 5. We would also, please permit me, while Chigozie comes up to work on his debrief, we would also like to recognize Mr. Philip Okonkwo from the Directorate of Budget and Planning. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We're grateful for your precious time, sir. Thank you. I see Chigozie has come up here with a beautiful lady. Well, I believe that's his cry. Please go up. Both of you can go up. Please go up to the platform. There should be a microphone there. Please just introduce yourself. Okay, I'll give you mine. Introduce yourself and remind us again what your session was about and then the key takeout points. You have 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Okay, no, we'll have to cut down because we need to close quickly. Okay, I'll give you 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Adobe. I work with Udo Domambele Sage. At Table 5, we discussed on leveraging bilateral partnerships, and we considered the African-China partnership as a case study, right? And then we started off by discussing the forum on China-Africa cooperation and how there's been a number of initiatives and agreements pursuant to that forum, some of which are the initiative for connectivity. We also discussed the health initiatives that were discussed, setting up pharmaceutical and health facilities in Africa, growth initiatives as well relating to infrastructure, etc. And so the pivotal questions that we had during our conversation was, what opportunities are there and how can we leverage on those opportunities? As I've earlier said, the opportunities lie in the initiatives that I've just spoken about, initiative for connectivity, health, and growth. And then on leveraging these opportunities that are there, we made a few points. Firstly, we said that the FOCAC agreement and the terms pursuant to the FOCAC has to be revamped in a way that favors Nigeria, because what we've seen is that there are more imports from China into Nigeria and less exports out of Nigeria into China. And so we have to revamp those terms. And one way that we discussed the one way that we talked about and discussed on how we can leverage those terms is by leveraging on our competitive advantage. We can leverage on agriculture, we can leverage on cheaper labor, because in China, labor is getting pretty expensive because of their older population. And so there are things we can do in that respect. Then we spoke about how BOT arrangements can be leveraged, build, operate, and transfer. Public-private partnerships can be leveraged to build our infrastructure. Additionally, we spoke about policies. Yeah, we spoke about providing policies that highlights these ways that we can leverage, policies that highlight BOT arrangements, providing tax incentives, providing just general incentives that sort of make Nigeria an attractive destination for investments from China. I think that's all I have in my notes. I don't know if you have anything else to add. Okay.
Good morning. My name is Chigozie Onyocha, and I head Africa-China Banking, Stanbic IBTC. Thank you, Adobe. So she's captured the things we discussed, but with respect to opportunities, we said that, especially with regards to infrastructure development, China is quite advanced. They have very good road network, and they're able to move goods. Part of the problems we have as a country is moving goods from one end to another. It costs so much. You can imagine moving fuel, we have to truck it from the ports to upper northern part of the country, and the roads are not good, right? So because they have those advantages, and considering that it's a saturated market, right, they are beginning to expand out of China, and Nigeria presents a very huge opportunity for them to invest in. And the African Continental Free Trade Agreement happens to be a very great opportunity, because when they set up here in Nigeria, they are able to reach out to other African countries. And during the FOCAC, one of the things, the 51 billion that Chinese people right? The president said that they're going to invest in Africa. It's also in support of the free trade agreement, and there's going to be connectivity, build roads, right, linking African countries. Yes, she spoke about the BOT and PPP arrangement. We said we should also strengthen our laws, right? Going back, what had happened in some places, for instance, in Lagos, where we are currently not paying toll gates or toll fees at toll gates, it's a discouragement for certain investors, right? So if we need to get it right, we need to make sure that people that are going to invest their money, they will reap the reward of that. So let's look at the BOT and PPP arrangement such that it will encourage investors from China. We also talked about the need for us to revisit and revamp the currency swap between Nigeria and China. That will help also in bringing the infrastructure, right? She talked about this tax incentive, right? That will also encourage, because most of the Chinese companies that we have, most of them are operating out of free trade zone, and this has to do because of tax elements. So let's encourage that. The Belt and the Road Initiative is something that we need to, we have already keyed into, signed into 2018, right? And in rounding off, recently the president appointed Joseph Tegbe, right, to be the Director General of Nigeria-China Strategic Partnership. And one of the charges is to make sure that we harmonize and ensure that the agreements reached, right, at FOCAC, right, that they are made. And he's supposed to come up with a timeline to that. That's a good development. We need to track and make sure that, because we have various initiatives and MOUs that have been signed, right? Some of them have not kicked off, but there should be somebody that should be held accountable for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adaobi and Chigozie. Table 4, please. I'm going to have to cut your time. 2 minutes. Is there an objection? Okay. But try and just, make the wrap up very punchy so that we can move on to, thank you very much, Dolu. Oh, okay. With our able...
Yeah. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dolu Olugbenjo, and I'm the CIO at Stanbic IBTC Infrastructure Fund. And with me here is Zil Kariwe. The topic we discussed at our table was engendering foreign investment in Nigeria, in the Nigeria energy and infrastructure sector. Pretty much, how do we galvanize foreign capital into Nigeria, ostensibly to solve our infrastructure challenges? We had 6 points, but we've picked the top 4, and I'll let Zil embellish them. The first one is laws and the stability of it. We need to quantify how much we need. If you sat abroad and you looked at Nigeria, what makes Nigeria the preferred destination of capital as opposed to other African countries? What is Nigeria selling outside of large population and land mass? Why must capital come in? And I'll leave Zil to embellish it. We talked about stability and how can government guarantee some of the pivotal big projects and the dimensions of that. So thank you.
And then in addition, very importantly too, we separated infrastructure to soft and hard. Hard infrastructure is what everybody always talks about, the roads, the hospitals and all that. But the soft infrastructure are things around your judicial infrastructure, your educational infrastructure, your legislative infrastructure, because those are the things that actually the investors look at first. The stability comes from judicial and legislative stability. One of the things we spoke about was pointing out the risk the National Assembly created by amending laws without proper deliberation. What that means is an investor looks at your laws and understands that by next week, after 2 days, it might change. So that stability is not just a governmental stability or political stability, it's a stability of your legislative infrastructure. And then whatever infrastructure you then put in place, for it to be sustainable, it must be maintained.
the way it's maintained is through people. And then, like Dolu said, people look at Nigeria and say large landmass, large population. That's the first attraction. But when you look properly, you look at the large land mass is not properly irrigated, is not properly networked through transportation. You look at the large population, they are not properly educated, so they do not form an effective workforce. And that is where educational infrastructure comes in. For any infrastructure, you have to be properly sustainable. Your educational infrastructure that feeds the manpower to maintain it must be there. And so you see what we could do, a massive project like Port Harcourt Refinery, or a massive project like Ajaokuta, or any massive, and you come back after 5 or 10 years and it's gone. And that's because the feedstock to maintain it through the educational infrastructure does not exist. We also spoke about dimensioning what is needed. The same way you budget at home, you don't tell people we need $30 billion and they give it to you. You need to tell them, I need $30 billion for this project at this time. These are the milestones of execution. This is how the drawdown will be. This is when the returns will come. And then they can tick those boxes and measure you against what you have said you would do. And if you don't do that, what's going to happen is that the capital is just going to go to where there is a proper structure for the utilization and where the underlying educational and agricultural and transportation infrastructural plan exists in an executable manner. Covered?
Thank you very much. You did well. Well, slightly well with the timing. But yeah, you did well. Thank you very much. Can we quickly move on to table 3 now? Oh, thank you. That's a door. Okay. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. Good morning once again. My name is Oladele Shotubo. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Stanbic IBTC Capital. With me, I have Rejoice. We looked at financing energy and infrastructure development in Nigeria, and we were given 2 critical questions to ponder on. The headwinds, what are the challenges? And more importantly, what are the solutions? We're not going to dwell so much on the problems, because if we call anybody in this room, we can roll it out. We know the challenges we're facing. But rather, we'll just look at 1 or 2, 3, 4 points that we put together as what we need to begin to do and, in solving this problem. Rejoice, over to you.
Hi, everyone. So one of the things that we raised was risk management, understanding risk, having the need to develop the capital sector, public sector and private sector to understand how to manage risk, because it will always happen, things will always go wrong, but knowing how to stay afloat regardless of the challenges. Another thing that we spoke about was how to attract private capital for the need of a market-driven economy. And one thing that we really explained in that area was just also leading to the elephant in the room, not the Nigerian police force, but corruption. And speaking of how someone raised up of how we could bank on transparency, on how we could bank on, using digitalization to make everything open and bring everything to the light of both the private sector and the public sector, knowing who is doing what, when such is happening. And also another thing that solution to corruption was consequence management, focusing more on the structure of how consequence management is handled, and ensuring that ensuring that the judiciary and the legislative are doing their jobs. Also, another thing was basically educating these sectors. It is quite wrong when a bank that has no idea what goes on in the mining sector or in the energy and infrastructure sector starts to handle
issues or starts to handle contracts that regarding that. So knowing how to educate these individuals, not individuals, knowing how to educate the bodies on how business is run on the inside of the market. Another thing we spoke about, raised by Mr. Jonathan, was lowering market barriers and, educating the public on de-risking. And one of the ways that this could be done, that's lowering market barriers, was understanding risk and seeing how we could lead the financial.
Stations.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, once again. My name is Falake Adimli. I am sector head for power and infrastructure, and I work with Stanbic IBTC. I facilitated table 2, and I'll just quickly go to what our mandate was. And the mandate was to discuss how exploiting the prospects and opportunities in the Nigerian infra space. We're given 2 questions to answer to drive the discussions. The first of which was talking about how, the enabling environment and how we could drive infrastructure investments and looking at Nigeria as a destination, why Nigeria wasn't a destination for infrastructure wealth, and also destination, and the second one was, I'm just trying to get to time, yeah. And outlooks and prospects in the infrastructure landscape in the light of competing investment assets and destination. Thank you. I think what drove our discussions was largely on what has worked. The main focus on the discussions that we know the policies have been driven. We have very good policies around infrastructure development, but how is it that those policies are not interpreted or executed? And one of the things that came out resoundingly was consistency in the framework of driving those policies. How could we be consistent in what we do to ensure that those policies are actually embedded and come to fruition? I would let Jumoke talk about most of what we discussed, but largely we looked at what worked and drew our inferences from those things that worked and saw how we could ensure that how those things have worked, how do we implement or replicate this across other opportunities. So, Jumoke.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jumoke Delano. I'm an energy consultant and I manage CBI Limited. So we were looking at the prospects, that what are the prospects, for infrastructure investment, and what will make Nigeria an attractive, destination. Of course, it was clear that we needed to have bankable projects, because these are not donor funds. Even donor funds are very selective, where they go. So you must be able to build a framework that
allows for infrastructure projects. We looked at the need for project preparation funds in order to make, because if bankability is a challenge, then it's important that you need to prepare your projects to get them from idea stage into a bankable, investment that a bank or, an investor can put their money in. We looked at the things that had worked, in trying to determine what is a good prospect. And we considered the fiber optic, the recent fiber optic investments, and the deficit, when you talk about connectivity of Nigerians to ability to access the internet. So we thought that investment in fiber work within the energy space is also things like ring-fenced arrangements where those projects have been properly de-risked and where you see your money going in and able to come out. We also see an opportunity in, of course, healthcare. Healthcare is a big deal. Now people are more conscious about their health, especially because of the trend in healthcare development. And we saw things like cancer care, refurbishing old hospitals, affordable healthcare. Diagnostics is a big business now. In fact, you find that some people are not hospitals. All they do is diagnostic care. So there are also, opportunities, there. Of course, we looked at local currency financing as one of the real opportunities, and a success story is the Sukuk, which we discussed that if the funds were generated locally, the projects implemented, and it has been working, then obviously there is also, some opportunity there. People have talked about tax credit, so I'll not go into there anymore. Let me allow Folake to take the second question. Thank you.
Okay, we've run out of time.
Thank you, ladies, for Lucky and Jumoke. I mean, there's breakfast. Thank you. Please give them a round of applause. There's breakfast, so you can continue the conversations, right? After that, we'll go on to the last table, certainly not the least. Richard, please help us wrap up quickly. And just coming up after that, please give Richard a round of applause. Thank you. And we'll be done in less than 5 minutes. Thank you very much, hopefully. The time.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Barrister Kenny Umeni, and Chairman of Black Diamond Oil and Gas. We're at Table 5 and Table 1, sorry. And we had a lucky break. We didn't have to do too much work because we have Richard Inegbedion, who is the head of Oil and Gas Desk at Stanbic, and he has done all the work, and he'll go ahead and present and let us know about the outlooks and the prospects in renewable energy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, I'll be very quick and just flash presentation on what we did. We focused on oil and gas, energy, energy business generally, oil and gas, power, and renewables. And the topic essentially covered the prospect of oil and gas and in the face of the development or acceptance of renewable energy in Nigeria. And we started by focusing on the plan, of the current government. If you look at it from a sector perspective, the plan is to grow the various sub-segments in the energy sector by various percentages. So I'll move very quickly to the next slide. But we also we looked at the challenge in the market around power, right, from the collapse of national grid and all of the issues around power. Next slide, sorry. And we moved very quickly to oil and gas, where we cited the challenge around the monopoly in the market that is currently being transitioned from the single buyer, single seller state to a perfect market that we're pushing for. Move very quickly to the next slide. And we also looked at the renewable energy space and focused on the key drivers for renewable energy in Nigeria. Key drivers include the size of the country's population and the fact that we have abundant sunlight in Nigeria to drive renewable energy, and the need to align with the call for global reduction in carbon emission. Move to the next slide. And these are the prospects that we came up with during the deliberation. First, in Nigeria, we need to take advantage of the last mile opportunity to ramp up production of crude. We've got over 37 billion barrels of reserve that is untapped, and we also need to leverage on the opportunity for gas, to utilize gas as a transition fuel. And also, we looked at the fact that it's important to reverse the trend of depending on imports of refined petroleum products. And we also looked at the fact that to achieve just energy transition in the market, there's a need to ensure that we develop both sides of the divide, both oil and gas and renewable energy. Move to the next slide. And let's go to the policy directive. Next, the last one. Yep. Okay, yeah. These are the recommendations from Group 1. And the summary of our conversation is that the government needs to be deliberate on renewables, right? It's not just enough to depend on the traditional banks for renewable energy financing. We need to focus and set up structures to develop green banks to finance renewable at micro and macro levels. And in the oil and gas space, the government also needs to ensure that there's full deregulation. If you look at it, the three major factors that determine price of product, crude, exchange rate, and logistics, one of the major factors that can help tweak the price of fuel today is exchange rate. So under the current Naira for crude deal, our expectation is that the government can create a special dispensation for petrol so that the price can be moderated other than what we're facing today. And in the upstream space, we're also focused on solutions like single-digit loans for specialized assets in the upstream space. In Nigeria today, to interest you to know that available rig count is less than 20, and the pipelines are moribund, no major storage facilities for crude. So we really need to ramp up crude production. These are key things and key line items that the government needs to focus on and also set up structures to promote. Of course, there's need to accelerate the development of a bank that is focused on oil and gas, which is the African Energy Bank that is due to start very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard is one of those students that when you get into class, you want to beat him up. because a lot of distinguished experts were saying, you've won. Oh yeah, please circulate the presentation is the ask, and would like to see that come forward. So thank you very much, distinguished experts and leaders in the room. We're grateful for your time. But before we wrap up and have you have the sumptuous breakfast we've reserved for you, I'd like to acknowledge three of our leaders who are currently in the room. I kept it for the last. Our Chief Financial Officer, Kunle Adedeji, is in the room. Please say hello to everyone. Thank you. And our Chief Executive for Stanbic IBTC Bank, Wole Adenu, is also in the room. Please say hello. Wole is right there. And our Chief Executive for Stanbic IBTC Holdings, Dr. Demola Shogule, is right here in the room. And he's going to say the last word, and then we'll allow you to have breakfast. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is just to thank all the delegates, to thank all the experts. We've taken advantage of a fantastic platform that NESG, has provided. And NESG has been doing this for 30 years. What did we achieve today? Initially when we started, some of the tables were more or less empty. But at the end of the day, 40 minutes was not enough. So one of the recommendations is the fact that, this kind of breakfast session, I think we need more time. Because, when you look at the depth of what has come out, of course, somebody like Richard, maybe he saw the syllabus, yeah, he saw the marking scheme, he had already got slides, and I could see some, some riot on another table that, look, Richard, what happened? But the important is that we need more time. So that's number one. Number two is that we've taken advantage of what you call collective intelligence in the room. Right. And number three is the fact that I can tell you, because I was in one of the tables, during the discussion, and somebody was saying we are just talking. Please, let me assure you, the chairman of NESG is here. We are not just talking. in the last 30 years, you need to just cast your mind back. You know, when you are talking about the, let's say, the privatization in the power sector, those robust engagements that gave rise, you know, to that exercise took place, you know, in one of the platforms like this. The same thing with the commercialization, liberalization. You know, what you are seeing with ICRC, and just mention some of those things. Pension Reform Act. You know, so, but it takes time. Some of these things, you know, we are talking about is a marathon. The important thing is that we've got serious advocates here, and one of the key objectives of NASG is to provide a fantastic platform for stakeholder collaboration, a fantastic platform for stakeholder partnership. You have to be inside. If you are outside, you are an activist. You know, on NASG, you don't go on the street. You stay inside, and you engage robustly inside, and that is what we've done. So all your recommendations, all your suggestions, I can tell you, we've got in NASG, you know, very effective, well-articulated channels to be able to bring them to fruition. What we don't have control over is time. Will it happen tomorrow? We don't know. Will it happen in 2025? We don't know. But are we going to engage robustly to see them happen? The answer is yes. So that is one part. The second part, you know, because I'm the one delaying your breakfast, is that Stanbic IBTC, we are willing and ready. We are partners in progress. You know, one of our mandates is to provide solutions that drive your progress. And that is why we are one of the very few institutional investors or financial institutions in this country that has 11 subsidiaries. So we are on both sides of your balance sheet. Whatever plans that you've got when it comes to infrastructure, please talk to us. Because I think the infrastructure master plan, integrated master plan, was saying that Nigeria needs about $3 trillion worth of investment over 30 years. It means that we need about 100 billion US dollars per annum. Ladies and gentlemen, go and check the GDP of this country. So where are we going to get $100 billion, you know, to put in infrastructure? What does that mean? We need a lot of partnership. We need a lot of collaboration. We need a lot of, you know, whether we call it legal reforms, to be able to attract. Somebody said in one of the tables, follow the money. You know, DFIs, you understand, grants, concessional, you know, credit facilities. You need all those things, you know, to come to fruition in Nigeria. And NASG is able and willing to do that. And Stanbic IBTC is also able and willing to do that. God bless you. Have a nice morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Shogunle. And at this point, thank you once again for joining us this morning. Breakfast is served. Will the facilitators please lead their, you know, their table delegates, their distinguished delegates to breakfast? Thank you very much. Okay, sorry. Quick question, quick picture opportunity, please. Sorry. Facilitators and the chairman of NASG. Is he still here? Oh, I think he's gone. Okay. Mr. Yusuf, please join us. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Please, we would like you to expedite the breakfast session. We are starting the next plenary session by 10. So we appreciate you not to rush, but expedite it so that you join us at the Congress Hall for the next session. Thank you very much for your time.
I'm hungry. I've had sleepless nights.